Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking a psychological trap that catches, well, pretty much all of us at some point, the comparison trap. We're going to dive into an ancient Buddhist fable about a raven, and we're going to use it to hold a mirror up to our modern lives. It is absolutely fascinating to see how our natural tendency to constantly measure ourselves against other people fundamentally alters our own happiness.
So, who is the happiest person in the world? It's a massive, sweeping question, right? It's also a question that psychologists, economists, and philosophers have debated for literally centuries. And in our source material today, this exact question kicks off a wild investigative quest originally sparked by a very, very unhappy raven.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, The Unhappy Raven.
Picture this. A raven is weeping so intensely that his tears literally fall onto the cheek of a meditating monk sitting right beneath his tree. When the monk asks what's wrong, the bird delivers this incredibly heartbreaking summary of his existence. He says, "No one loves me. Everyone hates me. Death is better than such a life." He feels completely worthless, shooed away in disgrace by people all day long, and he's utterly convinced that the whole world just despises him.
Hearing all this, the compassionate monk offers a profound piece of wisdom. He says we should learn to be happy in whatever condition we are in. It's a beautiful sentiment. And honestly, it's pretty much the foundation of modern mindfulness. But, as you might guess, the raven is way too blinded by his own misery to even begin to understand it.
Moving right along to Section 2, Chasing Colorful Feathers.
So the monk realizes that words just aren't going to cut it here. He offers a magical solution instead. He tells the raven he will transform him into a swan. But there's a catch. He will only do it if the raven first goes and asks the swan if it is truly happy. This kicks off a journey of escalating stakes. The raven sets out to investigate the lives of birds he just assumes are infinitely better off, moving from the swan over to the parrot and ultimately tracking down the peacock. This first meeting totally exposes the stark contrast between perception and reality. It's the perfect example of the illusion of perfection. I mean, the raven sees a pristine bird, loved by everyone, but the swan reveals he is actually miserable. To him, white is a nothing color. He desperately wants to be colorful, and he points the raven toward the parrot, fully convinced the parrot must be the absolute happiest bird alive.
And that brings us to Section 3, The Caged Beauty.
With the parrot, we see yet another broken illusion. The raven just assumes that the parrot's incredibly colorful beauty equals joy. But the reality? The parrot lives in this constant, paralyzing fear of being caught by humans and locked in a cage. It's a classic case of what you might call the success tax. The parrot's very desirability is the source of its relentless anxiety. So seeking the ultimate standard of beauty, the parrot sends the raven to find the peacock.
So the raven finally tracks down the peacock. The perception from the outside, this is the most beautiful bird on the planet, adored by thousands of people daily. But the grim reality is that it's trapped in a zoo, painfully having its feathers plucked out for human souvenirs. The bird that the parrot envied the most has found that ultimate beauty simply resulted in ultimate captivity.
Let's dive into Section 4, The Ultimate Realization. A deeply surprised raven looks at this magnificent but suffering peacock and asks him a very simple question. If you are not happy, then whom do you think is the happiest bird in the world? And this single question completely shatters the raven's original worldview.
The peacock's answer reveals the massive twist in our psychological case study. He says, "You, the raven, are the only bird not kept in the cage. If I were a raven, I could happily roam everywhere and I would be free." The peacock has literally sat there, observed his surroundings for a long time, and realized the so-called disgraced raven holds the greatest wealth imaginable: absolute autonomy.
Filled with this totally newfound joy, our protagonist flies straight back to the monk, and he declares, "A wise one, I do not want to be anything else. I am fine what I am." He is completely cured of his envy. After all that searching, he finally recognizes the immense, unshakable value of his own existence.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, The Comparison Trap.
What the monk originally warned about is an incredibly well-documented psychological pitfall that experts call upward social comparison. It is a vicious, vicious cycle. We make unnecessary comparisons, we despair at what we lack, and we end up cursing our own lives. This continuous loop of self-sabotage completely blinds us to the actual assets and advantages we already possess.
Because when we fall into this trap,
We completely ignore our own blessings just to obsess over our deficits. And here is the harsh, mathematical truth of human society. There will always be someone with more, and there will always be someone with less. Engaging in this comparison game guarantees permanent dissatisfaction. If you constantly measure your life against the colorful feathers of others, you mathematically cannot win.
This brings us to a really solid working definition of true happiness. It's simply a state where a person is fully satisfied with what they already have, rather than constantly looking at what they don't. The monk's lesson, and honestly, the peacock's tragedy, teach us that escaping the comparison trap isn't about acquiring new, better feathers. It's the active practice of radical gratitude for our current condition.
I want to leave you with a provocative question to ponder today. Are you busy crying over the colorful feathers of others, or are you appreciating your own freedom to fly? Take a moment today to really think about what your own unique feathers are and what your freedom truly looks like. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and until next time, keep your eyes on your own sky.